Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Quote of the day: an awareness of one's mortality can lead you to wake up and live an authentic, meaningful life. Today, the topic of my presentation is mortality related statistics, and I'm presenting it under supervision of my professor, Dr. Salamsa. Learning outlines: introduction about mortality indicators or mortality measures, latest figures of different mortality indicators, usage of these indicators, and recent updates in the end. Learning outcomes. By the end of this presentation, participants would be able to have basic understanding of mortality-related indicators, their calculation, and importance in healthcare setting. Mortality indicators. A mortality rate is a measure of the frequency of occurrence of death in a defined population during a specified interval. It includes crude death rate, expectation of life, infant mortality rate, child mortality rate, maternal mortality rate, proportional mortality rate, and disease-specific mortality rate. Now, frequently used measures of mortality. First comes crude death rate, in which numerator is total number of deaths during a given time interval over mid-interval population. Then comes cause-specific death rate. In this, the numerator is number of deaths assigned to a specific cause during a given time interval, and the denominator is mid-interval population. Proportionate mortality. Numerator is number of deaths assigned to a specific cause during a given time period. And in denominator, we have total number of deaths from all causes during the same time interval. Death to case ratio. Number of deaths assigned to a specific cause during a given time period. And the denominator is number of new cases of same disease reported during the same time period. Then comes neonatal mortality rate. The numerator we have is number of deaths among children less than 28 days of age during a given time interval over number of live births during the same time interval multiplied by 1000. Then comes post-neonatal mortality rate. In this, the numerator is number of deaths among children 28 to 364 days of age during a given time period over number of live births during the same time interval multiplied by 1000. Then comes infant mortality rate. It includes number of deaths among children less than 1 year of age during a given time interval over number of live births during the same time interval multiplied by 1000. Maternal mortality rate includes number of deaths assigned to pregnancy related causes during a time interval over number of live births during the same time interval multiplied by 100,000. Mortality statistic includes percentage, ratios, rates. Now, what is rate? A rate is a measure of the frequency with which an event occurs in a defined population over a specified period of time, or it is a comparison between two measurements of the same units. A ratio is the proportion of one thing to another. The numerator and denominator need not to be related. Therefore, one should compare apples with oranges. The term rate more loosely referring to proportions with case counts in the numerator and size of population in the denominator as rates. A proportion is the comparison of a part to the whole. It is a type of relation which the numerator is included in the denominator. For example, the proportion of persons who develop illness among all passengers of a cruise ship. Percentage is a relative value indicating hundreds parts of any quantity. Now, for example, we have a condition mortality or death. The ratio related to it is death to case ratio. Proportionate mortality is proportion, and the rates related to this condition we have crude mortality rate, case fatality rate, cause specific mortality rate, age specific mortality rate, maternal mortality rate, and infant mortality rate. Now, first, crude birth rate. It is just the number of residents living live births for a specific area during a specified period divided by total population for that area multiplied by 1000. Infant mortality. It is the number of resident newborns dying under 1 year of age for a specific area during a specified period divided by number of resident live births for the same area or period multiplied by 1000. This is the formula for infant mortality rate. It is based on vital statistics on infant mortality rate. This is the formula given. And if you based on vital statistics and population statistics, then we have age-specific death rate. That is number of deaths under 1 year during given calendar year over mid-period total population of children under 1 year multiplied by 1,000. It is a best indicator of availability, utilization, and effectiveness of health services. It is the best indicator of health in the community. It is most universally accepted indicator for health status. It is the second best indicator of socio-economic development of a country after under 5 mortality rate, because it is the first indicator of socio-economic development of a country. Then it is an important indicator of level of living, effectiveness of maternal child health services, and it is among the best predictors of state failure. Then comes maternal mortality rate. It is the number of maternal deaths in a population divided by number of women of reproductive age. That is, in numerator, we have number of maternal deaths over total number of women of reproductive age multiplied by 100,000. Now, what is maternal mortality ratio? It is the number of resident maternal deaths within 42 days of pregnancy termination due to complication of pregnancy, childbirth, and the puerperium in specific area during a specified period, divided by total resident live births for the same area period multiplied by 100,000. Remember that in maternal mortality ratio, the denominator we have is resident live births, while in maternal mortality rates, the denominator we have is total number of women of reproductive age group. Now, age-specific death rate. It is the number of resident deaths for a specific age or an age group in a specific area during a specified period, divided by population, usually mid-year estimate of the same age or age group in the same period, area or over period, multiplied by 100,000. Accrued death rate. It is calculated as the number of deaths in a given period divided by the population exposed to risk of death in that period. For human populations, the period is usually 1 year, and if the population changes in size over the year, the divisor is taken as the population at mid-year. The rate is usually expressed in terms of 100,000 people, and it is a good indicator of general health status of a geographic area or population. It is not appropriate for comparison of different populations or areas with large differences in age distributions, for which we take age-specific death rates, age-standardized death rate. Now, cause-specific death rate. It is a number of resident deaths from a specified cause in a specified area during a specified period divided by total population at risk or mid-year estimate in the same area or period multiplied by 100,000. Now, this is an example for age, sex, and cause-specific death rate, like number of deaths due to septicemia. This shows a specific cause. Among men, it shows sex or gender, aged 65 to 74 years. This shows age specification. In 2004, divided by estimated number of men aged 65 to 74 years alive on July 1, 2004. Now, case fatality. It is the deaths from a condition during a stated time period over cases, that is persons with the same condition. And it is the measure of severity of the condition. For example, among persons older than 70 years of age with West Nile virus meningoencephalitis, the case fatality was 21% among those with meningoencephalitis in US in 2002. Life expectancy at birth. It is derived through life table calculations. It is a standardized summary measure used as an overall gauge of health based on population's age-specific mortality experience. It is the index of level of mortality within a population, and it represents hypothetical number of years a newborn would live under prevailing mortality levels. Age-adjusted mortality rates. Mortality rates can be used to compare the rates in one area with the rates in another area or to compare rates over the time. However, because mortality rates obviously increase with age, a higher mortality rate among one population than among another might simply reflect the fact that the first population is older than the second. To eliminate this distortion caused by different underlying age distributions in different populations, statistical techniques are used to adjust or standardize the rates among which the population to be compared. These techniques take a weighted average of the age-specific mortality rates and eliminate the effect of different age distributions among the different populations. Mortality rates computed with these techniques are age-adjusted or age-standardized mortality rates. Now, age adjusting. It includes direct age adjustment, which uses standardized population age distribution. The second is indirect age adjustment, which uses standard population age-specific death rate. Now, direct age adjustment. It includes same as calculating weighted average, applying age-specific death rates in observed population to standard population age distribution. For the calculation needs standard population weights in which the numerator is number of people in a given age group over total number of person in standard population, all ages combined. Then calculate age-specific rate for each age group, multiply age-specific rate for each age group by weight, and then the sum of the products. Then comes indirect age-adjusted death rate. To compare the death rates of a steady population with those of a standard population, it averages specific rates in a standard population weighted by the age distribution of the steady population. So it needs age-specific death rates for a standard population and age distribution of a steady population. It is useful when age-specific number of deaths in the steady population are unavailable or small, that is less than 25. Standardized mortality ratio. So calculate number of expected deaths in a population, that is sum of standard age specific death rates multiplied by steady age specific population weight. Then second is calculate standardized mortality ratio by number of observed deaths in population over expected death multiplied by 100. Then how to interpret and standardize mortality ratio. Comparing deaths in steady population, for example, district A, to what would be expected if the steady population had the same probability of dying as the standard population. So if standard mortality rate is greater than 100, that is number of observed deaths is greater than what would be expected. And if standardized mortality rate is less than 100, it indicates that the number of observed deaths is less than what would be expected. Indices which take into consideration mortality indicators. First is Sullivan's index, that is life expectancy minus duration of disability. It gives disability-free life expectancy. Then comes Human Development Index. It includes longevity, that is life expectancy at birth, income, knowledge. And the third is Physical Quality of Life Index, includes life expectancy at 1 year of age, infant mortality rate, and literacy rate. Now these are the different stats for each mortality measures. First comes crude death rate. In Pakistan, it is 7, then Bangladesh says 6, and in the developed countries, we can say like in UK and USA, it is 9. And we can see the graph of the death rate that it was 7.57 in 2010, and it is slightly declined to 6.84 in 2020. Then comes infant mortality rate. In Pakistan, it is 54. Then in Bangladesh, it is 26. India, 28. And in the developed countries, we can see the huge difference that it is 4 and 6 in UK and US respectively. Then comes maternal mortality ratio, that is per 100 deaths per 100,000 live births. And for Pakistan, the stats it's showing that 140 maternal deaths. In Bangladesh, it is 173, and for the developed countries, it is 7 for UK and 19 for USA. And life expectancy at birth, that is it is in years, and it is a 67 for Pakistan, 73 for Bangladesh, and maximum is for USA, that is 81. Then under 5 mortality, that is deaths of children under 5 years of age over 1,000 live births. If it is 65 for Pakistan, 31 for Bangladesh, and for 4 for UK and 7 for USA. Then comes adult mortality female. It is adult mortality female over 1,000. That's we can see that it is 135 in Pakistan, 113 for Bangladesh, and again the huge difference between the developing and developed countries. That is for 81 for USA. Adult mortality male. It is 171 for Pakistan and 138 for USA, 87 for UK. Mortality caused by road traffic injury per 100,000 population. It is that is mortality caused by road traffic injury. It is 13 for Pakistan, 15 for Bangladesh, and only 3 for UK, and again 13 for USA. Now moving on to recent updates. It is an article titled as Beyond Deaths Per Capita Comparative COVID-19 Mortality Indicators. Objectives following well-established practices in demography. This article discusses several measures based on number of COVID-19 deaths to facilitate comparisons over time and across populations. Results for several populations with the necessary data by age and sex for direct standardization. We show that direct and indirect standardization yield similar results. With lesser demand on data than direct standardization, indirect standardization is a valid alternative to adjust international comparisons for differences in population distribution by sex and age groups. Then we have a second article titled as Use of Amenable Mortality Indicators to Evaluate the Impact of Financial Crisis on Health System Performance in Greece. According to it, Greece experienced the largest reduction in its healthcare budget of any European country during the economic crisis of 2018 to 15. Here we test the hypothesis that budget reductions worsen health system performance in Greece using the concept of mortality to capture deaths, which should not occur in the presence of effective and timely healthcare. Amenable mortality was calculated from national mortality statistics using age standardized death from 34 conditions amenable to medical interventions in Greece, which further analysis by sex, age, region, and cause. Mortality rate ratios in the 95% confidence interval were also computed. Results prior to austerity measures, amenable mortality rates were declining. After 2011, coinciding with the inception of budget reductions, the slope of decline diminished significantly. The age-specific mortality rates observed in 2011 to 16 were significantly higher than those expected at ages 0 to 4 and 65 to 74, but not significantly higher in all other age groups. So, conclusion that health system performance in Greece worsened in association with austerity measures, leading to a declaration of the decline in amenable mortality and increased mortality from several conditions amenable to medical interventions. Now, coming to MCQs. MCQ number 1. Which of the following mortality rates use the estimated total mid-year population as its denominator? A, specific mortality rate, sex specific mortality rate, crude mortality rate, death to case ratio.
C.
Yes, C is the right option. MCQ number 2. What is the following fraction? That is number of children less than 365 days of age who died in country A in 2004 divided by number of live births in country A in 2004. What does it show? Incidence rate, proportion, incidence proportion, or mortality rate?
D.
Yes, D is the right option. MCQ number 3. Crude death rate is a measure of the number of deaths within a population indicating general health status of a population. Which of these formulas best represents the crude death rate? A, number of people in a population who are expected to die in a given year over people who actually died multiplied by 1,000. Number of people in specific age group who died in a given year over total population. Number of people in a population who died in a given year over mid-year population. Or rate of infant deaths in a given year over total number of deaths in a population multiplied by 1,000.
C.
C.
Yes, C is the right option. MCQ number 4. Direct standardization is used to compare the mortality data of two countries. This is done because of difference in causes of deaths, numerators, denominators, or age distribution.
C.
No, it is D, age distribution. Because we do direct standardization of age due to differences of age when we compare data between two countries. MCQ number 5. Which of the following is best to compare the vital statistics of countries? Crude death and birth rates, age standardized death rates, age specific death rates, proportional mortality rate.
B.
Yes, B is the right option. MCQ number 6. The crude mortality rate in community A was higher than the crude mortality rate in community B. But the age-adjusted mortality rate was higher in community B than in community A. This indicates that A, investigators made the calculation area. No inferences can be made about the comparative age of the population from these data. The population of community A is on average older than that of community B. The population of community B is on average older than that of community A.
D.
No,
C.
C is the right option. Because we will see age adjusted mortality rate. So according to it, um, the mortality rate is higher in community B, which shows that it is older than that of community A. MCQ number 7. The crude death rate is a measure of the number of deaths in a population relative to the size of that population during a given time period. The crude death rate is typically expressed in units of deaths per 1,000 individuals per year. Which of the following is not correct about crude death rate? It is called a crude rate because it does not take into consideration the age and sex of the population. It is standard practice to take the size of the population at mid-year as the denominator because population size may vary during the year. Both numerator and denominator should not refer to the same population in terms of geography and time. It is the simplest measure of mortality that can provide insights into the health status of our population.
C.
Yes,
C.
C is the right option. MCQ number 8. In an epidemic of hepatitis A traced to green onions from a restaurant, 555 cases were identified. 3 of the case patients died as a result of the infections. Calculate the case fatality rate. 3%, 1%, 0.5%, 1.5%. It is quite a problem solving MCQ.
D.
The right option is C. We can see that case fertility rate, we have 3 deaths over 555 cases multiplied by 100. So we would get 0.5%. That is C is the right option. MCQ number 9. Maternal mortality has become an important measure of human and cultural development. It is particularly revealing of women's overall status, access to healthcare, and the responsiveness of the healthcare system to their needs. Maternal mortality ratio is expressed as per 1,000 live births, per 100,000 live births, per 100 women of reproductive age, per 100,000 women of reproductive age. It is maternal mortality ratio.
C.
C.
No, it is B. Right option is B. Because in a maternal mortality ratio, the denominator we take is 100,000 live births. For rate, we take 100,000 women of reproductive age as denominator. We can see the difference here that for maternal mortality ratio, we are taking live births as denominator, while for maternal mortality rates, we are taking women of reproductive age as denominator. MCQ number 10. In a community XYZ in a specific year, 4,000 live births occurred. In the same year, 50 mothers died due to childbirth. Compute maternal mortality ratio. 12.5, 125, 1.25, 14.5, 22.5. Again, it needs a little bit calculation. Okay. A is the right option, that is 12.5. For this, we calculated like that we kept a number of maternal deaths as numerator, that is 50, over 4,000 live births multiplied by 1,000, and we get 12.5. So this is a key of MCQs, and this
Thank you very much.
name, and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Meha. Very nice presentation on a very, very important topic. Still, we are having a lot of chaos because our life expectancy, our indicators, they are skewed by the very high maternal mortality rate and ratio. So, if we control our maternal mortality rate and maternal mortality ratio, most of our indices they become normally distributed, and the life expectancy specifically is increased if the maternal mortality rates are further decreased. One of the very important thing is that you have described how the different important rates they have been calculated, what are the denominators, and how the case fatality rate, etc., can be calculated. And this is the most important part of your presentation today. Similarly, the recent advances that you have shown, the evidence that we already have, they were excellent. Thank you very much for such a beautiful presentation. See you next time. Allah Hafiz.
Thank you, ma'am. Allah Hafiz.